Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Partnership Guys podcast. I'm Todd Leonaris, and with me I have Rob Stoker and Steven Schneider. We are the Partnership Guys. We thank you guys for tuning in. Uh, Today, we wanted to talk about what Steven and I developed, which was called the 60-40 rule, and that mindset of really being prepared to give more than you expect to receive. What we like about this is that it does allow it helps fill any voids or gaps if somebody can't show up 100% to put in their 50%, if you know what I mean. It allows us to focus on things that we normally wouldn't be able to uh, with somebody putting in 60% and expecting 40. Stephen, we developed this years ago, and I just wanted to get your take on it by what the rule really means to you.
The 60-40 rule is really about giving more than you expect, right? So it kind of means that whenever you come to any situation in the business or working with your partner, you want to give 60%, but really only expect to get 40% in return. If you are thinking 50-50, which is what most people would think, that makes the most sense. What happens if somebody comes, has a bad day or doesn't show up for something in the way that you expect? Already you're losing. But if you only expect somebody to come 40%, you give them the opportunity to be able to have some good days, have some bad days, and you're still within the reason of expectations. It's when when reality don't meet expectations is when you start to run into problems. On the flip side, you always want to try to bring 60%. Now, some days you're not going to bring 60%. But what you're doing is on the other side of the coin, you're giving yourself an opportunity to, again, be able to have good days, bad days, do better sometimes than others. And you're still going to be able to meet the expectations of your partner. And so that 60-40 rule gives you that 20% in the middle where you've got some leeway and you're not immediately going from, expecting something and then somebody coming short of expectations.
And for me, it's one of the things that when I saw what you guys were doing and putting together this playbook and all the great stuff in your book, this was one that truly, the many things that resonated, this was one because, to me, it's also saying that you're always looking to do a little bit extra, that you're always looking to, what else can I do more than just what I'm supposed to do to really bring this partnership and this business to the places that we want to go. And it's always just extra. I'm putting in extra. And when you're both doing that and the stories that you both tell of how you've done that, it just means that as a unit are accomplishing so much more than the flip side of that, which is saying I'm doing this and, he or she isn't doing that. And that's where, I can tell you that the real red flags come from.
Yeah, and obviously, there's not a real good way to measure this sort of internally. But imagine both partners firing on all cylinders, giving more than they're expecting to receive at the same time. You guys are on fire at that point. You are getting stuff done. You are enjoying yourself. You have what feels like a team with just one partner. You know what I mean? It's an amazing, just easy shift of thinking about what to expect from people. Because, in some of our businesses, Steve and I are 50 partners. Sometimes there's not as much stuff for me to be doing. So he's picking up the slack with, if it's in a sales thing, a marketing thing, what tech thing, and vice versa. There's times when I am totally overloaded with stuff just because that's the time of year or whatever it might be. And I don't think anything of it. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, it's my turn. We kind of live there and we don't keep score, if that makes sense.
Well, that's the whole point of this thing, right? It's hard to measure. That you don't want to measure this, right? What you want to do is this is really about feeling. It's about being comfortable with what your partner's doing. So the fact that you're not going to keep score on, okay, I did 10 tasks today and you only did 9. You're not picking, you're not handling your full weight of the partnership is ridiculous. So that's a downhill spiral.
You never get through that. You'll never win that.
Never. And all it's going to do is end up destroying trust. It's going to end up destroying the partnership ultimately. And so reducing your expectations, but then also putting yourself in a mindset of bringing more to the partnership has the exact opposite effect. And you don't want to keep score. It's not about score.
No, because it's very negative. That's where in the 10-year lawsuit I had, that looking back at it, that was the first thing, was that we were only looking to devalue what the other one was doing. It was only like, that's all you did today. And what that made me do when I would hear, oh, anybody could have done that, and that's how you spent your day. What I would make me want to say, well, what are you doing? And, how much have you done? And the finger pointing, and, it's healthy the way you guys have operated and the way I've operated with many great business partners, is individually keeping score of yourself and saying, am I doing the most that I can do to move things along, and not so much pointing the finger at the other and saying, are they doing that much? There has to be that trust and respect that they're into this and working as hard as you are.
Yeah, that's a great point. It is about self-reflection and self-governance on this. You have to be going into this with that mindset of generosity. And generosity is not necessarily sentimental. It is more strategic, right? You're putting deposits in the bank always. You know what I mean? And I mean, Stephen, over the course of now a quarter century plus, there's times when I know I wasn't delivering, 100% of me, which would allow me to present, 50% to the part. I know it. Uh, Steven and I we're very open about it too. When one of us is distracted, busy, just off, we will openly talk about that. And the other partner, if they didn't already get it, which one of us typically does, the other guy typically does, is like, all right, gotta step up. And we'll step up and we'll do what we need to do. And if we have to give 80%, we're going to give 80. You know what I mean? It's what a partnership is. It's having somebody there to be able to lean on, rely on, and that's doing the same for you.
Yeah, the bank idea is a great way to kind of look at it, is that you want to make deposits into that bank by giving more than you expect, by being present when, maybe more than what is necessary, so that there are times when you need to take withdrawals. Your bank account is full. I mean, thinking about Todd and I, years and years ago, when we first partnered up in the late 90s, I had small kids and I needed time. I didn't want to miss my kids growing up. And so I probably didn't spend as much time working on the business as I could have or should have. And Todd was very generous in allowing me to be able to do that. And so, he built up quite a big bank of this kind of a mindset. When Todd needed some time off due to a surgery a few years later, was really, I was happy to allow him to take the time he needed. And in fact, when he wanted to come back, I told him, no, you need more time to heal up. And, it's being generous with each other on a strategic level. Yeah, there's sentiment in there, right? We've been together a long time and we're like brothers now, but it's really about strategic thinking in the business and what's going to make the most sense for the business. More importantly, what's going to make the most sense for the partnership. And so, that's just one example of how we've employed this 60-40 rule to be able to really give each other the space to be able to have success, but then also take the time that we need when necessary.
Yeah, I think it's also the great things listening to your stories and your partnership is, we're leaders and business owners, and we have ideas and paths to go down, but there's no 100%, there's no guarantees. And so when your business partner takes an idea and runs with it, it's very possible, we've all been through this, where we can do weeks worth of work. And in the end, it just didn't work out. It was just a learning curve. And so as a business partner, it's really easy to say that you just did nothing over 2 weeks. And when I went through my lawsuit, that was one of the things looking back, was my neighbor was at home, had a full-time job, and was kind of just designing our solar systems at night. But I was out during the day doing sales calls, going to townships, and even if I had a successful day, if I signed up 2 people, went to houses, it was kind of like, we just went and got a check and signed an agreement. But there were days where I would go and get nothing. And to him, that was like, I did nothing that day. I accomplished nothing. And the answer is, this is business. There are going to be days where you're out there, you're hustling, you're running around, you're having conversations. And at the end of the day, it was like, yeah, that was kind of a waste of a day. And do you have the understanding from your partner is, you didn't waste the day. You learned a lot. You worked hard. You moved us forward, even though it doesn't look like it. And
Yeah,
having
you
that
might not have
trust and
yielded
respect.
results. Yeah, you might not have yield the intended results, but you learned. Absolutely.
I mean, Rob, do you have any, can you think of any examples kind of, I'm sure you weren't thinking about 60/40 back in the day when you had your early partnerships and your early businesses, but can you think of any examples of when, like when you had the trading business and, you know, where you guys kind of employed this type of mindset to build out that business? Because that was a very successful business for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We built it from the ground up and brought in what was eventually a couple hundred traders. And there were always things. Trading was it was a hard business. We were all trading individually. We would, so there would be days where one of us would have a great day and the other one would have a horrendous day. And always our thoughts were to the people that didn't have a bad day, how we pick them up and say, I've been there too. And that to me is when I read what you were doing with 60/40 was I'm only going to look out for my partners who struggle that day, or maybe a partner who hired people, brought in a couple people, and they didn't work out. And I'm only going to say, hey, that happens. That is part of a business. I'm not going to say, how could you hire them? It's only saying, how can I support what you're doing and pick you up and say, hey, I'm sure your next hires are going to be great. And even if those aren't, then the next time of, hey, let's get through and let's figure out how we get this right. And always taking that 60/40 approach of I'm going to do more and more and more till we get this right together as a partnership and as a business.
And having that kind of mindset totally prevents resentment from setting in, right? Like we're not here to keep score. Okay, you had a great day, I didn't have a great day, or vice versa. That's okay. And tomorrow is going to be a totally different day. And so having that mindset of really being supportive and being there to try to understand why you maybe didn't have a good day or why that didn't work out. Or, yeah, we both thought that was going to be a great idea and a great project to work on. And 3 weeks later, like you said, it's a total bust. That's not a reflection of who you are in the partnership. Most times ideas don't work out. Right. And so if you've got a mindset that says, okay, you know what, we're going to take some risks, we're going to try some things, even though this might not work out, and we hope it does, I know that you're there trying to give 60%, right? I know that's what you're trying to do. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. You know, we'll get them next time kind of a thing.
I mean, there's things, I'm in multiple businesses with Steven, as you know, Rob. And there's times where my energy and effort in one business might be getting overshadowed by my energy effort in another business. But man, so if you look at it business by business, you'd be like, your eye's been off the ball on that one for a little too long. But to me, I go to the whole relationship of giving to Steve and working for Steve. It's kind of that servant partnership that we've talked about in the past. And so it's not just for, on a EIN number, a business per se. It's truly is on the flow partnership. To that point, I have adopted this personally in my other relationships outside of here, right? How do you come from a place of generosity and less expectation? I learned a while ago when I was doing some coaching, which is volunteer coaching, helping some businesses break the $1 million mark, stuff like that. That givers get, like, you get so much more when you're just focused on giving, and that's not why you give. It's just the result. It's just the way it goes. I am a true believer. And it took me probably later in life, for me to really see that coming from a giving mindset really just it fills the coffers in so many other ways. So
And which is, it's easy to say that these concepts are easy to talk about, especially in business and when things get tough and, bills need to get paid and it gets very hard. It's much easier said than done. It's how do you work on those things and, not just say we're going to do this, because it is much easier said than done. It does take work, and it does take an opening up and a vulnerability and, a true understanding and a caring about your business partner. And that's what I love, about you two, and, why I'm so taken by all the things that you write about and talk about is it truly resonates, that the ups, downs, struggles, business, and how you both so successfully deal with it together.
And vulnerability is really a big part of the thing. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in a future podcast. But communicating these things is really what's critical, right? It's about, um, we've all had situations where somebody blows up on us and we're just thinking, I didn't do anything to deserve that, right? But it's because something is going on in their life that you're not aware of. And so creating an environment where it's okay to say, you know, my kids are driving me crazy. Todd was just telling me this morning, his kids are sick. And at 3 o'clock this morning, one of the kids crawls in bed and throws up all over the place. Like, he's not having a good day.
Awesome. I don't know if you see the dark circles. I don't know if makeup was ever able to cover my dark circles.
And so, I hear stuff like that. I'm like, okay, I get it. I might have to step up my game a little bit today, and that's totally cool, and that's all right. And so communicating about what's going on in your life. And, we've talked a little bit about this in the past, but just, finding those moments during the day to be able to kind of just, talk about what's going on in your life really allows you to be able to understand much better, how you can support somebody, what you can expect from them that particular day, why they're acting the way they're acting, things like that. And then over time, that just becomes the natural part of the process, right? Todd and I, been working together long enough that, we don't even think about it. But, with Rob, there's been times over the last, year or two that we've been working together where I'm like, dude, what's going on? Right. And so it's just about having that open communication, and being able to share what's really going on in your life, that is critical to maintaining this mindset, this 60-40 mindset.
Yeah, we're all leaders and in a lot of different ways, and it gets hard. It gets really hard, and sometimes it's hard to express what you're feeling. And there's a feeling that we all have that is, I'll get through this, and I don't need to burden you with what I'm going through. And instead, the more you can open up, and when you see those things like you've seen in me, your example is, when you say that to me, it gets me to say, you know what, I'm struggling with a couple things here and there, and it gets me to open up. And I know that you're only looking out for me, that's not showing you anything but that I'm human too and going through something. And that, to me, for the one partnership that I've had that really didn't work out, that's what wasn't there. And what it led to lying to each other, covering up things that went wrong. I didn't want to tell him that things went wrong, so I just wouldn't tell him. And that's my business partner. And we started to treat each other how we felt like we were being treated. And, it just went straight downhill so fast. That trading floor was 5-6 years of building it until we eventually sold to E-Trade in 2003. Solar business, I barely knew my neighbor. It was just a new neighbor moving in. We were maybe in business 4 to 6 months successfully before lawyers were called. And in there, the red flags were endless, starting with having no clue what this 60-40 rule was and meant. Like I always say, if we had this available to us and he was willing to look at it, read it, consider it, we would still have a great business right now.
Good story.
Great story. All right, boys, I thought this was good conversation. I appreciate your time as always. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Please, if you're interested, pick up the partnership playbook on Amazon. We have it in all 3 formats, and you can follow us on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram, and you can get this podcast in every place that you would expect: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are, we'll be there. And we're really looking forward to hearing from you guys. Please reach out to us if there's anything that you have any questions on, or if there's anything we can do for you.
Thanks for bringing 60%, guys.
Yeah,
Yep, good stuff. Matt, thank you.
I'm at 61 today, just so you know.
Oh, got it. All right.
All right.
See you later.
Thank you, guys. Good stuff.
Thank you.
See you.
Thank you.
Take care.